The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today with my friends Ezra Potter, Evan Liu, and Jackie K on behalf of the Mile High Hockey website. We are going to talk about, guess what? The Colorado Avalanche. And guess what? Actual hockey games. That's what we're going to talk about this week. So it's a wonderful week to be a Colorado Avalanche fans. With the
Welcome
Avs
to the
being started. Whoa, hang on now there. That's just our intro twice. That's no big deal. First game of the season.
That's how excited we are, is that we got to do it twice.
That's how we roll. But folks, please head on over to milehighhockey.com. We've got all your previews and everything you might need heading into opening night with Colorado Avalanche tomorrow against the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas. And we'll get into some of the other matchups that we'll be seeing later on in the week. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to just, get things started, but I do want to give you a little bit of a heads up as to what we're going to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about some final cuts that the Avalanche made, a little bit of jostling they did before the game started. We kind of had a little bit of a moment of concern, but I guess it wasn't really a moment of concern at all. We're going to talk about our reactions to those lineup announcements and our expectations for some guys. We will do our final installment of Give and Take, where we will put a bow on our Young Guns edition and talk about who did and who did not leave an impression. And last but not least, we will do our bold predictions. and we will see if we have some year-long bold predictions that might suit some of your fancy. So thank you, folks, for so much for tuning in. Let's drop the puck. Evan, let's start with you, my friend. Avs made their final cuts. We saw some names leave the roster that were, I guess, tough names to see leave the roster, but kind of the writing was on the wall. First of all, I want to talk about something that we kind of spoke about this like it wouldn't really happen, but PEB did in fact not make the team on his professional tryout. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a surprise, I thought, anyway, because you think about how Bednar likes his guys. He likes the people that he knows and is aware of, right? And Bednar. And Belmar obviously fits all those categories. The real question was, can he still do it at 39 years old? And I think we kind of saw that Camp he could keep up, but I mean, Camp's just a completely different beast compared to a regular game, right? So his games weren't all that great, but you really had to wonder, like, would the Avs actually like do that? Would they actually cut him? And lo and behold, they did, which is surprising because I definitely thought, I'm sure as Jackie and others can attest to, that he was kind of the shoe-in, right, for that fourth line slot. And others beat him to it, which obviously is great for them, of course, not so great for PEB. And I mean, Chris McFarland said it earlier today too, that the door for him to probably ever come back is probably shut now at this point, which understandable probably for a team that likes their speed, likes their power and whatnot. Belmar just doesn't have those capabilities anymore. So sucks for him, but I guess surprised / happy that the Avs made what I think anyway is the right decision.
Great. Well, Jackie, earlier on in our shows before this, you mentioned that you just didn't see the Avalanche cutting PEB, and Evan says, I'm a little surprised. Are you also surprised based on what you told us a few weeks ago? Oh, Jackie, we got you muted.
Sorry, definitely. It'd be lying if I said I saw this one coming. This one wasn't in the tea leaves. Let's just put it that way. Just all the things about the leadership and how important he was and yada, yada, yada. And I'm sure that he was a great resource, especially for the young guys in his short time here. But you just saw that train pulling away from the station with he's the Cogliano replacement, blah, blah, blah. So, yes, I definitely can say that one surprised me. I wonder if he maybe came down with a tweak or something, some sort of injury maybe they didn't want to deal with, because he was like at practice right before they did it. Usually if they release guys from PTO, it's kind of on an off day, like they weren't just there. But, I have to believe what McFarland said, that they just like their guys better under contract, which I think means Wagner. That doesn't eliminate the entire concern,
right?
But if they didn't see him keeping up, then yes, they made the right decision.
Yeah, and I talked about how, like, I think at minimum this was still good for the Avs, even if he doesn't make the team, because I think he brings in an approach that some of these young guys can take and see kind of how he's doing. Maybe the wheels aren't there, but at least he knew how to get the wheels, grease the groove a little bit. Ezra, touch on the PEB cut, and also we talked a little bit, or Jackie just talked kind of about, not really seeing it. For me, I didn't see it from Brandstrom, and I wonder similarly if there was like a tweak or something. I know he got ran into the boards pretty hard by Miles Wood in camp and in preseason, but sort of another thing where the tea leaves didn't really point to Brandstrom and the Avalanche parting ways, but he was then traded and then immediately put on waivers. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'll start with PEB. I mean, I definitely didn't see it coming. I thought for sure they were going to be like set and forget fourth liner. Let's give him 7 minutes a night, call it good.
Yeah.
Face-offs, kill some penalties, get off the ice. But, like Evan said, his preseason games were not that good. And frankly, I think if you look at the play of Chris Wagner versus PEB, you look at pretty equivalent guys, and Wagner's already there. So if you're looking for like your one old guy you can call up at a pinch, you don't need two of those. And then Ivan really outplayed the guy. So that bottom, that's, there's a young player who can do it. There's already an old guy who can do it. You don't need another one.
Agreed.
Harsh, but that's how I see it. with Brandstrom, kind of the same exact scenario. Sam Malinsky's the young guy who's proved he could do it, won the job, I think, outright on that third pair right side. That was Brandstrom's primary competition for a roster spot, was in that spot. And if he's not going to win that job, then he and Shillington are kind of similar players as the like extra defenseman who can play either side and be somewhat effective. But Shillington was much better on the penalty kill in preseason than Brandstrom was. So, I didn't think Shillington was like excellent at all. And like overall, there's a lot of holes in his game still, it seems like, and he's got a ways to go to be a roster lock or a lineup lock, I should say. He's definitely a roster. But it seems like in the penalty kill role specifically, he outplayed Brandstrom. And for an extra defender, you do need somebody who's going to be able to come in and defend, since Malinsky's already the guy who can come in and provide some offense from that third pair. And that's because we've been hyping up Malinsky on this podcast for like a year at this point. And finally, seems like he's going to get the opportunity to rise to that occasion.
Yeah, man, I agree. I'm excited about Malinsky, and it was funny. I was watching the Steve Dangle. They have their own, like they did all 32 teams. And a part of what they talked about with the Avalanche was their defensive depth. And they used Shillington and Brandstrom as like the examples of like, they don't even need these guys and they got these guys. But I'm kind of with you. I wasn't all that impressed with either of them. And at the end of the day, like it's probably better for the Avs that Malinsky is the one that makes that leap. And it's not those two guys. Jackie, I want you to touch on the Brandstrom being traded and waived debacle. What were your thoughts?
Yes, I do have a few. I think it's funny, first of all, to say like they have this great depth when half of it could get waived at any time.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not depth. That's warm bodies. So that is funny that already sort of blew up in their face. To me, it's a little bit of a straw man to say it was between Malinsky and Brandstrom, and I know this is what the organization is floating, because we talked about they weren't going to waive Malinsky anyway. Good for him for showing up, stepping up, but the whole like, oh, well, he beat out Brandstrom. Well, they were going to keep an 8 anyway. So the fact that maybe he put himself in the starting lineup over Brandstrom, cool, but that doesn't change the need to like get rid of him. So right. that part doesn't really fly with me there. And we had talked about like, I think Brandstrom's even younger than Malinsky. How he could be a Drouin type sort of reclamation project, good tools, fits the Avs system, see where he can get to. So to cut bait on that immediately is a little odd too, because that was some potential there. Now obviously he cleared waivers and there wasn't value there. The Avs didn't get the 4th round pick for him. They got the 4th round pick because Vancouver saved $3 million.
Right.
So, but here's the other thing is that I thought Shillington was bad.
Yes.
But I guess that's their, interpretation of it. I thought Rosen and McDonald were horrifyingly bad. I thought they were like, you can't call them up once bad.
Yeah.
So that's what you have as your depth now, your organizational depth. So we also now know about this thing about Sean Barons, who unfortunately suffered a knee injury and is out for the entire year. So this happened on a Saturday. Brandstrom was traded on a Sunday. So they knew this, first of all. So even if you were done with Brandstrom, you were over it, you were willing to waive him, he would have been way more valuable as an Eagle and as somebody that you could call up and get NHL level play from that they are now not going to get. So, to me, this is why I am not a big fan of this. You haven't told me to get into the whole Ludwig part of it as well.
Well, I was just about to. Yeah.
If you want me to go there now.
Well, let me send it over to Evan real quick just to see what he thinks of the Brandstrom stuff, and then I'll come back to you for Ludwig. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Yes.
Evan, what? Go ahead. Sorry.
To put it in a bow, I'm not buying the whole Brandstrom thing. It's a little weird to me.
Yeah, and I'll send this one to you, Evan, because I was going to send it to Jackie, but since we got this new game plan, I'm curious, like, when a guy gets immediately waived by a team that he was traded to, and obviously it screams cap dump, but like Brandstrom seems like a serviceable prospect, or at least somebody you can, like Jackie's, talking about, at least develop a little bit in the AHL. Do you think it was more business oriented? Like they just never really looked at him as somebody who was going to be in their system, and they just were trying to clear cap, or what really gives there?
I don't know if it was. I don't know if it wasn't like they didn't give him a chance, because I'm also with Jackie. I thought Shillington was not great, and I thought that if they would have done this, presumed cap dump move, that it would have been Shillington going instead of Brandstrom, because I think Brandstrom still has a higher upside than Shillington does, in my opinion, anyway. So, sure, the Avs had a chance to claim him back if they really wanted to, but there was no way that they were going to do that. And it was just, it's a very odd one. That is for sure. And of course, you have to look at the business side of it, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, it's a business. You have to figure out how to fit everything into this cap limit and the spending limit and all that sort of stuff. And ultimately, they've made it work, right? They've made it work to at least get some guys, get everything that they need to set up and ready to go, especially for when Nichushkin comes back next month, which has been confirmed by Chris McFarland earlier today too, that Nichushkin will be back in the next month or so. But on the flip side of that too, I want to just touch on Ludwig real quick, because I'll be honest, when the trade happened, I was busy working like a 12-hour day, so I still haven't really had a chance to read too much up on him. But I don't. He's basically Curtis McDermott light, is my understanding. And I mean, we all know what Curtis McDermott did with the Avs. He played maybe 3 minutes a night. And I don't know obviously I don't think Ludwig is going to be doing that. I think he's right now, I would say, the seventh defenseman. Eighth defenseman even probably, but like even that, like very odd things that we don't know too much about, and just trust the front office.
Yeah, well, this is a perfect time to send this one back to Jackie, because Jackie, this does feel like Curtis McDermott light is a good way to put it. Like anybody who, when the Avs acquire them, there's a Hockey Fights Now video in our article of it, it's because that's a part of his DNA. And then I want to preface this question where I guess I almost want to give you your answer, because I think I know what it is. But how frustrating is it to see the Avs once again prioritize this kind of like aging play style over a guy, honestly, like Brandstrom? Because if you look at the way these numbers are stacking, did it feel like they were just like, oh, we have too many Sam Girard and Sam Belinsky types, let's get rid of Brandstrom and bring in this goon? What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't agree with that, but it's not like this was all news to them. I mean, when they made these decisions to sign people, they knew what type of players they were getting. So, and I just want to preface this by saying, I've seen some people float around that something has to be wrong with like Brandstrom's character to just boot him like that. I think that's crazy. You cannot go there without having real evidence. So I just want to say, by me saying it's weird, I am not going down that road, because I have seen that out there. So, and it wouldn't have anything to do with the cap, because he's under the Barry limit. So, like I said, even if you didn't like him, why not waive him, put him in your AHL, and have somebody competent you can call up? But getting to Ludwig, yes, I'm very concerned that they think their brilliant idea of, let's just take the defenseman at the end of our roster. He can play forward, because why not? Because it's just so easy to play forward in the NHL and give him something to do, which then that's going to trickle down to, well, then who is not playing on the fourth line at forward, which that isn't good either. But I get that they could like a bigger physical guy. I mean, that's fine. I get it. Like, you do want to have a mix of different types, not because I think crease clearing happens in 2024. It's just, okay, you want to have different play styles, all right, but then why not at least go for a right-hander, because you're just desperate for that, first of all. And second of all, this guy played 33 games last year. He was injured 4 separate times. So, so he might be that physical guy. He might be the guy that's willing to face punch.
But
I would be very concerned of him staying on the ice. And with a team like
Availability.
them that's going to be counting their cap pennies, they can't risk having just another guy sitting on their cap for the majority of the season because they're injured all the time. And I was looking at what happened to Matt Nieto because I was just curious. Oh, Ludwig also had surgery over the summer. So I didn't know that. He had surgery on a tendon on his wrist, and he was supposed to be out for 6 months. But he did play in the preseason. I confirm that. But he barely is like healthy right now. And so this is all definitely like not the road that I would have gone down.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's funny how he's like, just play forward. It's easy. I'm with you on that.
They seem to think that.
Go ahead, Evan.
Let's take the guy on our roster with the least puck skill and think that he could play forward. It's amazing.
Don't put that out there. I have a little bit of Avs-ish related news that just came out.
Okay, sure.
Was just before we got started. So fans have been really excited about Altitude Plus and all that coming soon. And I don't even think we really touched on it on the show, actually.
No, we didn't.
That's happening. Right before the show came out, Altitude announced that the app isn't going to be available at the start of the season. It is going to be aimed to be launched later this month.
Yeah, they said middle October.
But
you know what that would what that's going to line up with is when the Nuggets start. Just watch.
Yeah, probably. Good point.
I'll touch on that briefly because
there are also no DVR options. At least I would say in a reply to someone. So
TBR.
I don't know. I don't
like you can't watch them back, which is ridiculous. Here's the thing, Avs management, ownership, people. You want to give your fans access to your content by rules of, doing this well. And when you make it harder to access your content, you make it harder to be a fan. I don't even know I'm curious if somebody could do an economic impact study on just how impactful this might have been to this franchise to have drugged their feet so long on this exact project. I think if ownership knew that figure, they would be really upset with themselves because we're talking about 2 championship teams who've been championship caliber for almost half of a decade, both of them. And for 4 out of those 5 years, there's been no games on TV for some fans. Not only that, you finally bring this all-encompassing platform, quote unquote, all-encompassing platform to the table. And that's not what it is at all so far. It just, you've officially pressed my button, Evan. It's been pressed. You're firmly you're leaning on it because no, it's fine. I'm happy that you brought that because it's game 1 of the season. Colorado Avalanche have all these storylines. We know them all because it's our job. And the most readily available form of getting that media, those games to your fans, you're not going to have ready for opening night. It just, I don't know. I just feel like if we were as bad at our jobs as some of the people up there, we wouldn't have them. And that's pretty unfortunate.
That would be an interesting study, though. I don't know. I'm in business school now. For those of you who don't know,
you'd probably never
maybe a project. You'd never down the line.
Yeah,
get the figures of.
You could
what they
could estimate. You could do comparables based on other teams who had similar eras and what sort of money they did, and adjust for inflation. There's ways I think you can at least surmise, and I can promise you, I can surmise that it's been costly for the franchise, for the fandom, and for the league. When you have a champion whose team isn't even regionally available, locally available,
it also doesn't surprise me because of the national TV schedule early on. I think there's one, obviously tomorrow's game. Next week is on national TV. And then there's a lot of home games. But like I said, it probably has to do more with the Nuggets. So whenever their first non-national TV game is, that's probably when it'll be available.
Yeah. Oh, man. Just I don't know. I just lose my mind. Like if this was me, if I could put myself in their shoes, you could have hyped this platform up all offseason. You could have developed it, had it ready last season, not used it. Hyped it up all offseason, built up this anticipation for game 1, and had all your ducks in a row ready to just rake it in, because you're gonna rake in some cash at $20 a month. You're gonna, but you're gonna miss
But
out
see,
on the first month.
they think of it as they're doing us a favor. It's never about like they need to be marketed. It's they're amazing and come and get it. So when you have
crazy.
that perspective, you don't need marketing. You don't need advertising. You don't need to grow hype and interest and all this and that. It's like they exist, so come and get it.
Yeah. Well, thank God for folks like us and the people at Gorilla and DNVR for continually trying to promote a team
that doesn't want to
we
be
care
promoted. I
about.
wonder what would happen if we all agreed for like a week just to go dark and have nothing.
I don't know.
Which, of course, not everybody would ever all agree to do this. But I just wonder what would happen if they were like, "Oh, wait a second, there's no free promotion." What happened?
I mean, the longshoremen just got a 62% raise over 12 years from going on strike at a good time. Let's do it. Let's go on strike.
No shit. Yeah, the longshoreman. I love that. I don't think I'm quite as valuable, but I appreciate the compliment, Ezra. I'm the longshoreman of Avalanche hockey. I dig that.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, we are going to the port and getting the information.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And then, all right, now we're stretching. Right, okay. But folks, well, you heard it here.
Let's get back to hockey.
You heard it here sort of first. So that Altitude Plus platform that we've all been pining for won't be available till middle of October, as it sounds. And there aren't going to be any DVR options. So bust out your camcorder and your tripod and record your TV like back in the day. But let's get into the opening night roster, which as it sits right now, according to Daily Faceoff, we got Jonathan Drouin, Nathan McKinnon, and Mikko Rantanen on that first line. We've got Kovalenko, Middlestat, and young Callum Ritchie on that second line. We've got Miles Wood, Ross Colton, and Logan O'Connor on the third line. And I can't see, but I believe it's Ivan. And who's in the middle?
Parker
Kelly and Yoki Ranta on that fourth line. And then our D pairings are Devon Taves, Kilmacar, Sam Girard and Josh Manson, Calvin DeHaan, and Sam Malinsky. Evan, what are your initial thoughts on this here opening night lineup?
Lots of changes, right? Lots of different unique faces. Without Nichushkin and Lehkonen and Landeskog and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, we've been used to, of course, the third name on that list not being around the last couple of years. The other two are usually prominent, but it's given guys like Kovalenko and Ritchie an excellent shot. I think I'm very excited to see how both of those two do in particular, because they are, at least according to Daily Faceoff, playing on the second line. And I would agree with that. I think that they would play on the second line there. I don't see how you break up the Roaring 20s line, considering how great of a third line they were last year. And I don't really think that they are second line capable, I guess. But paired alongside Middlestat, but I guess both of them will be neat to watch, at least to start. I think really the big question is, will they keep up? Will it be more than a 9-game trial for Cal Ritchie? And I guess really will Bednar give them extra benefits, such as like power play time, for example? I think that's really going to be key, because Ritchie was pretty good on the power play during the preseason, and we know how he likes to have McKinnon and Rantanen and Drouin playing for like a minute and a half, on power plays. Does he try and split that up a little bit more? Does Ritchie move up to first line power play, and Rantanen go down, or however you want to work around it. But regardless, I mean, it's going to be very exciting, at least that it seems, that we're going to have some new faces and some new opportunities for them.
Yep. Well, we have 325 fresh faces glued to their phones right now watching us. So thank you folks for tuning in. I'm with you, Evan. Like, it's exciting to see this roster and see the new faces, because I'm not seeing the new faces and going like, oh God. I'm seeing the new faces and I'm going, wow, this could be really cool. It could turn out that it's not as successful as I'm hoping. It's probably more likely that it's not as successful as I'm hoping, but I am optimistic rolling into a lineup that's short 3 of your best forwards. And I think that that's saying something. Ezra, what are your thoughts with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's really going to be cool to see what Kovalenko and Richie can bring, because they're different. They're not just like new faces; they're a completely different element than the guys usually on that second line. So you know, neither of them plays like Lehkonen, neither of them plays like Landeskog, but they're going to bring their own thing to it, and that's going to be cool to watch. I'm also a big Ivan fan. I'm a big supporter of him. I'm glad he got it on the roster. I was doubtful that that was going to actually happen, especially when Parker Kelly started playing center. But they were like, okay, well, Ivan will be on the wing then. So that's cool. And I do think Parker Kelly too brings an element that's going to be exciting to see. But ultimately, it all comes down to, are the big guys going to drive the ship? Because all the support stuff is necessary and important, but it's totally secondary.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to put it. I mean, that was my reaction because I heard this morning I was listening to Sirius NHL radio, which I do as the season rolls around just to get a beat on how the national folks are feeling about our Colorado Avalanche. But one of the takes was from Mike Rupp, who said that the Avalanche were one injury away from the quote-unquote wheels falling off, and that he was worried about the Avalanche not making the playoffs. Jackie, you've kind of touched on before how the Avs are kind of playing with fire given how shorthanded they are. Are you as concerned as Mr. Rupp about them not making the playoffs, or is that kind of a little bold right now?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, would I bet that they're not going to make the playoffs? No, but it really depends, obviously, also who gets injured. I mean, if we're talking Parker Kelly gets injured, no, I think they could probably live. But can they afford one of the big guns to go down? Absolutely not. I think they'd be in huge trouble. Even assuming that they're going to get these guys back, even if they get Lehkonen and Nichushkin back, that's a big help. But I do think that they are on the precipice for sure, because it's not just about like, oh, hey, we have some new young guys, which is super cool, and I'm very excited for that too. But I'll be surprised if it's more than just Kovalenko playing in November. So It's going to be short lived, and they have a depth problem. I've been saying this for years that, okay, say Mikko goes down, maybe Ivan comes back, cool, but they're not going to be able to make up that deficit with anything they have internally. So I do think they are walking a very fine line there, where it could be a really good season. They could win the division again, have 50 wins again, all this and that. But I think they are closer to having a real disaster than I think fans want to admit.
Well, see, that's why I sent that one to you, because I had a feeling that you were a little bit in line with Rupper there. But my I guess it's not a rebuttal, but my thought process when you say that it is like this: still got Kale, you still got Mikko, and you still got Nate. And I know that's not enough to win you a Stanley Cup necessarily, but I think playoffs wise, I think it should be. And I know the scenario is like if one of those guys gets hurt, right? Then I think I'm with you. It's going to be harder. I still don't think it's impossible. I still give them the odds on favorites to at least make a wild card in that scenario. But I
mean, if Nuke comes back and he's fine and he doesn't leave again,
so
that would be a big help for sure.
It's a really weird season for the Avalanche fans because we have a two-sided coin, and it's going to land on one of those sides of the coin. And the two sides are a disaster where you have injuries on top of an already injured and cap-crunched club, and there's nothing to be done about it. You just have to play next man up, and you're playing AHLers in an NHL game, pretty much. That's the bad side of the coin. You miss the playoffs in that scenario. The good side of the coin is you develop Kovalenko, Richie, Ivan, and then later on in the season, you don't even hardly need all those guys. So now you have all of this depth who's played real NHL games, who could easily fit right back into the system, and you also have this top tier talent come back into your lineup. So it's like we could have like a really, really monumental season that's like fun and kind of incredible. Mix in some Landeskog return, or we could just have this really humbling experience where it's like, yeah, success is fleeting in the NHL. I don't think that that's too far-fetched. Evan, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you just have to make the show, right? It doesn't matter if you're the President's Trophy winner or the Washington Capitals last year who didn't want the last wild card spot and still made it in anyway. Yeah. You just have to make the show. right?
Yeah.
And I've been saying this since May, since when Nichushkin got suspended. If, and it is a very big if, you are healthy, you are not suspended, and Landeskog is back, and all that sort of stuff, this team at full strength is incredibly dangerous going into the playoffs. When you have a full strength squad where Landeskog, who was playing on the first line, back in 2022, is now all of a sudden forced down to your third line because you have Drouin and Lehkonen and Nichushkin that are now taking up the rest of those forward wing slots. That sounds pretty darn good to me. And of course, you don't have to worry about the cap at that point either. You just have to make the show. I will take it with a grain of salt, though. I will say this. I would not be surprised if it is a slow start to the year for Colorado, just based on the circumstances, based on the uncertainties, based on all the new faces, all that sort of stuff. It takes a while for teams to kind of build up, right? So don't be surprised if, say they start, I don't know, 2-4 or whatever, I guess. Or if they go 1-2, I guess, between here and our next show. So don't be surprised by that. And the end of the season,
I will say
that
they have a easier schedule and a lot of home games early. So I could see them be decent, decent. It's just usually when they really hit the doldrums about December, January, that's when it might be hold on.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm worried about this hurry up and wait feeling to this season, Evan, when you talk about a slow start, because if that does happen, it's immediately we're all going to turn to okay, well, where's Landeskog? How's Nichushkin doing? Where's Lehkonen at in his recovery? And I'm so done with those talking points, man.
Oh, I know, right?
I don't want to talk about that.
I'm so done with the Landeskog one, especially. Yeah. I'm just just let me know when he's playing. It's just.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna, I've had about enough of the Landeskog.
I was gonna say let's at least not be like the Blues. So we're recording right now during Kraken Blues. We didn't really plan that out, so I'm watching it right now. Let's not be the Blues because they just gave up 2 goals in the first 2 minutes of the second period.
So bad.
Jordan Bennington song. Do the Jordan Bennington gave up 2 dance, everybody. In the first minute or what? Let me see.
First 2 minutes of the second period.
We're doing a Blues watch along right now. What's going on here?
I am.
I think it's funny. The first game and whoever does crappy, it's oh, they're done. This is the first game. It's oh, what do they do when they suck? It's one game.
That's amazing.
It's the whole off season and knowing what their roster is that makes me say that. But I get what you're saying. I want to go back to 2 things.
The playoffs.
If that's okay. I'd love to go back to the playoffs. That sounds good. But no, okay. There's no team in the league where if they lose their best players, they're not in trouble. Obviously, if the Avs are a little bit less deep than other teams, maybe because of all these other injuries. That's a fact. But no team could survive an injury to a McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. So that talking point always drives me crazy because it's of course that would be bad. But also I want to go back to we never talked about Tucker Poolman and the whole LTIR thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
With the trade situation with Brandstrom, because that is such a big piece of it. This LTIR whatever cap
conundrum. That's my word of me describing it.
Such a big part of it. And I think that is part of why it's Brandstrom over Shillington that moved out, because they needed to get as close to the cap as possible to maximize their LTIR, which I don't even really know what that means, but I keep saying it and reading it. But basically, they have to. The closer they are to the cap, the more effective putting people on LTIR is in terms of keeping cap numbers down later in the season. That's the summary of it, right? So I mean, it could come down to that with the Shillington Brandstrom choice. I know we've moved on from this topic, but I thought it was we had to bring
it's an important part of what they did with this move, and I would say no, because Kovalenko and Ivan have higher cap hits than Wagner. So if you needed $1 million the difference
but those
between
guys need to be on the roster. Those guys made the lineup.
Right, but if their cap hits were more beneficial than, like, Wagner has a cheaper cap hit, Kovalenko has a higher cap hit. So if the difference between Brandstrom and Shillington made the LTIR work, then the difference between Wagner and Kovalenko could have been made up if it was more important to you to keep Brandstrom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
I guess like going
We'll
forward,
see.
maybe, if they're going to have Shillington, Ivan, and Kovalenko all on the roster. But yeah,
So
having Landstrom would be better. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
we'll see exactly, because we're sort of in purgatory. Like, they haven't completed the move. I guess today you weren't allowed to send anybody down. So I find it funny that Wagner was not at practice yesterday, but he was today because he's on the roster today.
Yeah.
But we don't know yet who exactly they're putting on LTIR. We assume it's Pullman, because or else why did you trade for him, and why did you use the last $2 million of your cap on that? So that's a pretty safe assumption. But are they also going to LTIR Landeskog or Lehkonen? I think no, because they don't need it. They only need the $2 million cushion that Pullman provides right now, so that they can get Kovalenko and Ivan officially back on the roster.
Math. Oh, math. Stop.
Yeah, like, I don't.
This is why
get
Adrian
what
didn't
they're.
put it on the rundown. He didn't want to do it.
I get what they're doing. I will say that I don't know I don't think anybody that isn't employed by the NHL could tell you exactly how this stuff works. But I get what they're trying to get at and why. I just can't tell you exactly how.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll see. I want to see the other half of this transaction to see if it matches kind of the assumptions that we've all made.
Yeah. Well, I'm going way off script here because now I'm seeing stuff on Twitter that's pissing me off. So
okay,
I'm gonna leave the expectations, statistical expectations part of our next segment. Let's go over that in give and take, since two of them are in our give and take, and then we'll touch on Annunen later on as well. But here's the predicted Stanley Cup champion for all of the on-air insiders on Sportsnet. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Guess.
Let me guess. Edmonton.
16. 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 16 of the 20 picked the Oilers. 2 votes for Dallas. 1 vote for New Jersey, which, wow. Bold prediction time. And then Kiprios picked Florida, which I guess Nick's the only one picking the repeat. But
what do you guys think? Safe pick.
I'm surprised none of them picked Toronto, all things considered.
I know. I was going to say, someone has to put the flag out there for Toronto.
Think about this. 16 of the 18 picks are Western Conference teams, with 2 being Dallas. 16 of the 20s.
It's all group sync. That's how McDavid won the Conn Smythe. Like, it's all the same people with the same opinion, and they're all just parroting each other. Yeah, it is ridiculous. Like, Florida should be the one that has 15 picks just because they're the reigning champions. Why not?
Recency bias, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not regional bias.
But if you learned anything from last season, it's that the team that lost in the Cup final will win the Cup.
See, there you go. Now I get it. If only...
Well, anybody that's listened to me from last year knows how I feel about Edmonton.
Exactly.
They would not be my Stanley Cup pick.
We don't have to go too far into that, but I just thought it was very interesting that media members are hammering the Oilers. So I think that should, let's go on to our next segment. Let's talk about our give and take young guns real quick, because we did this cool thing all 4 weeks of the preseason camp kind of combo there, where we gauged kind of where these guys were in comparison to each other, these guys being some of the Avalanche kind of bubble prospects and players. We picked, I believe it ended up being 7 of them. And we then were asked to rank each of them week by week with a point, 0 or minus a point, or 2 points and minus 2 points if you were feeling very, very bold about whatever opinion you came to. And that kind of gave us a ranking of these individuals as we go into opening night. And I don't want to, float our own boat or anything, but according to our ticker, until Ezra put in -800 for Sean Barron's,
No,
it
I
looks
did.
real good. Oh, it was you. I knew it was one of you guys. But I'm gonna
injury
change
hurts
it.
for sure.
I'm gonna change it. I'll do 2 for you. There you go, Jack.
Your
That
knee
way
injury.
we can still have our. But we got Richie at the top, Kovalenko right after him, Malinsky and Ivan tied, Barons, Foodie, and Olausen all cut. So our young guns basically came to the same realization as the Avalanche management. Obviously, the two are going to coincide because we're going off what the Avs are saying too. So not too big of a deal. But let's talk about, first off, Cal Ritchie. So Cal Ritchie's at the top of our list in our rankings. Even in our ticker, he's got looks like a 6-point gap over Kovalenko. Now, he was a 5-point week in week 1 with getting 2 points early on. I think those came from Jackie. So, Jackie, what are you most excited for Cal Ritchie? What are your statistical expectations, and why did you rank him at the very top of this list?
I think it's just about talent. He's got the brightest future of anybody on this list. So I think kind of by far. I think he's held up his end of the bargain. He like I've been thinking about meeting expectations. I think he's met my expectations. He's had a few great moments. I'm very happy that he made it. It's probably going to be tough to see him stick around. I don't even know if they would do the 9 games, honestly. It might be before that. So my statistical expectations, I hope he scores a goal before he gets that back. That's probably my hope. I hope that he does something to make them decide that they want to commit to him and to continue with him. Like, I also want to say it doesn't have to be about the 9 games. There's no rule that if he goes over the 9 games, you have to keep him, which I think is stated. I've seen that. That's not true. It's just about burning the ELC year. He can stay for 20 games and go back. There's an example, Dylan Genther, the one that abused the Avs in the preseason. He actually played for Arizona. Then he went to the World Juniors. He went back to Arizona, and they assigned him to junior in February. So there is no reason why it has to be about just 9 games, and that's it. If the Avs want to get creative and they don't care about burning that ELC year, because if you keep him under 40 games, it doesn't count as an RFA year, which this is probably what I would prefer, because I think he needs to get more than just like a couple games. But
same.
So there's a whole range of options, but I could definitely see him being gone in like 2 weeks, or he could stay to World Juniors, which is probably what I would prefer.
I would prefer that as well, because I just don't see the benefit of him not playing or going back down to juniors if that happens. It just doesn't make sense to me for you to be kind of like promoting him and then just be like, oh, well, we'll wait till next year again. It just, I wish
that McFarland, not that he would tell you what their thinking is, but I wish there had been a more pointed question about Ritchie to McFarland, rather than like, how cool is it to have young people in the lineup? Like, that's such a vague question.
Yeah. Like, what are your intentions? We needed the brother talk.
To kind of read some tea leaves there about what their thinking is, because it does seem like, Bednar is measured in what he says about Ritchie, which I get. He doesn't want to hype him up, but it does also kind of seem clear that like that wasn't his choice. It's a management choice. So, McFarland should have been the one to really explain kind of the thinking there, and we didn't get that. He probably won't talk again until like March. So cool.
Yeah. Well, Evan, I want you to touch on your thoughts of Cal Ritchie and how he landed here in our give and take, which it turned out to be kind of a fun thing. We'll do this later on in the year with hot seat players or hot seat coaches, maybe. We'll see how that goes. But tell me what you think about Cal Ritchie, and then also talk about Kovalenko, who came in at second on this list with 10 points.
Yeah, I think all 4 of us have been high on Ritchie, right? We've we've seen what he's capable of. We've seen what he can do, and I've been saying since July. He's been in Denver since July, and I don't think has left since then. And I think that kind of shows the dedication that not only he has, but eventually won over the team. And now hopefully they're dedicated to him for keeping him around for a while. Kovalenko at 10, I think that's also pretty understanding. I'll admit I skewed it a little bit since I started him at -1 on week 1, which maybe wasn't the best thing to do, but I think it all makes sense. It all lays out right. So like I said, it makes sense to me. In terms of expectations, I'll hold my Richie ones because he's part of my bold prediction for this week. I've been excited for it.
Yeah, okay.
As for Kovalenko, I definitely think that he'll be around a little bit longer than Malinsky will be. I don't foresee Kovalenko like going down to the AHL unless something crazy happens. Pretty much for the most part, and maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. But I could see Kovalenko at least getting like 60 games in probably, if not more. So point total for that, I don't really know, but I'll save my Richie. I'll save my Richie expectations because he involves my bold prediction for this week.
Fair enough. I dig it. That's real. Touch on Richie Kovalenko, and then I want you to talk about the fact that Kovalenko and Malinsky are our two players to be sub-zero, but then rise above and make the team. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I'll touch on Richie briefly. I think everybody pretty much covered it well. I want to go back to what Jackie was saying about the contract. Like if the ELC slides, that could be good for the Avalanche. Like they need entry-level contracts through the competition window, sure. But getting a guy like Richie to be eligible for a new contract in 2 years instead of 3 years while he's developing could mean he comes in at a lower cap hit on a bridge deal. And there's a lot of benefit to that to teams. I think teams should be playing with that intentionally a little bit more. So I'd be curious to see if the Avs do consider that. My expectation is he gets 9 games and goes, but I'd love to see him stay till World Juniors or even the full 40 games, like Jackie was saying. Kovalenko, he had a rough first game. His first preseason game was tough. Bednar called him out for not putting in the effort, and that's kind of what his game is based on. But it was clear that he was nervous. He was making his debut, not really his debut, but his season debut, and he didn't fully dial in. But then when he dialed in, man, was he good. I think he's going to be a roster lock. I really do. He earned this second place because we were all so hyped about Richie, but Kovalenko was the best player in the preseason, I thought, night in, night out, except for that first game. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him flourish. I think it's going to happen. Malinsky, kind of the same boat, man. I mean, both of these guys had rough moments in the preseason and then locked it in and played great. That's why they started with a dip and then made their rise in these rankings. Malinsky, really impressive. He had a coast-to-coast goal in a preseason game, which you don't see from too many defensemen. So that was really cool, and he looked good defensively, which is really important. That's the area that all three of these guys really, if they're gonna stick, they have to be good defensively. Richie specifically, Bednar has called out on his defense, and he's playing a new position, so that's an extra challenge. He's been a center his whole life. Now they're trying him at wing, and playing defense on the wing is like technically easier, but if it's not your instincts, it's hard.
Technically hard.
So, I still how that's really going to shake out, because they've been doing this the whole time. Is like he's practiced a lot with Middlestat. They have not played a game together, so I don't really get that.
No, that doesn't make sense. They knew this was the plan. Like, give him that game.
Seriously, maybe just one would have been cool. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I can say this about all of the guys who made the squad from our give and take segment, which, these guys are all dudes that we've been excited about, I think, which is fun. Like Cal, we've been excited about him since kind of like he started just setting the world on fire in the last season. Heck, Kovalenko, we saw him get a little bit of playoff action last year, and we were excited even then. Malinsky, same sort of thing. We saw him early on in the season, kind of during some injury woes last year, and that kind of we all thought he was going to stick around back then. And then Ivan, I think is kind of just the dark horse out of all of this. We talked about a dark horse guy to make the team, and we actually did key a little bit on Ivan for his can-do-itiveness, his try-hardness, as we say, and how that sets well with Bednar. Before we move on to our bold predictions, I just want to open this one up to all three of you, see who wants to take it. What did Ivan do to make this team?
What didn't Ivan do, man? I mean, like he was good. He was very good, and I think it kind of took everyone by surprise, right? I mean, he's played in the Czech Republic now for a while. Moved over to the AHL last year, and was pretty good in the AHL, I would say. And he's kind of jumped over guys that were in front of him for call-ups. You look at Oscar Lawson, you look at Jason Poland, you look at Jean-Luc Foudy. He's kind of jumped above them now. Mm-hmm. And sure, he probably fits a need that maybe those other players don't. And I think that could also be a big part of it too, because Bednar's touched on that, kind of this entire preseason. And good for him, right? I think that's really great to see. I really think though, like the big question is, will he stick like long term? Because Chris Wagner is still here, unfortunately. And if we talk about giving the young guys a chance, this is a great time to do that for Ivan. But he's going to be, unfortunately, I think anyway, on a short leash from Bednar. And I think that who knows if we still don't even know if he's going to be in tomorrow night. Like Bednar still could go with Wagner, but if Ivan maybe starts, tomorrow night and is playing in Vegas and maybe doesn't do all that great, I wouldn't be surprised to see Wagner quickly whipped right into that fourth line center spot come Saturday night for the home opener.
Yeah, man, but I'm hoping Ivan can do it. Come on, Ivan.
I feel like they wanted to give like a pat on the back because they're saying all this stuff about earn it, and it makes the headlines, and what happens like a week from now, we'll notice it, but it's going to go relatively unnoticed around the league. So, that they have intention that it was going to be one of the guys that Evan mentioned, maybe. I don't think that it was anything like Ivan got them to cut Bellemare or Ivan's, I don't think it's that deep.
Right.
I just think they kind of wanted to give someone a reward. Like they did this with Sampo Ranta a couple years ago. Didn't he like quote unquote make the team and then he was gone like 3 games later?
Yeah.
It's just kind of what they do. So it's really cool that he gets the reward, but it's what happens in his season. Like, can he be a guy that gets that? I always say that 20 to 30 games, it's so important. It's why Malinsky was in the position he's in. It's so funny that Bednar said like, oh, he's been around, he's got our trust. It's like, this isn't rocket science. How you get that is you play the 20 to 30 games. Then the next year, you're like an actual real option. So if it puts Ivan on the path of at least that, cool, then I think that's really awesome, and maybe he really will make the team next year. If it's like congratulatory 2 games and that's kind of it, it's just so fake. But we're not there yet. We're happy that we're going to see young people, but I am definitely not celebrating.
Well, Ezra, you started to say you think that Ivan can. Tell me why.
I do. I think the difference between him and a Ranta, him and a Wagner, even him and most of the guys that Kiwi Ranta, most of the guys we've seen at the bottom of this lineup is he doesn't only play hard. He also plays very smart. He's in the right position because of his feet and because of his head most of the time. I think he showed that by getting minutes on both special teams units, or showed that Bednar sees that by getting minutes on both special teams units. He's capable offensively. He's not good. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say he's going to score 20 points or something, but he's capable offensively because of his positioning. And the mental side of his game is really strong. And I really do believe that can make a difference for a guy sticking. he's not going to be a guy who's constantly out of position like a John-Luc Foudy. He's going to be a guy who's where Bednar wants him to be because he's working hard and because he's thinking hard. And I think because of those two traits alone, whether he scores, doesn't matter. But those two traits alone, I think he could stick. We'll see.
I dig it. I think he can too, man. I'm with you. And here's my thing. Like, you say he's smart and he tries hard. When you're not smart and when your skill doesn't back it up, that try hard still comes through. It still shows. So I think yeah, exactly. Well, and like we talk about his
problem is he hasn't played for Dallas. Sorry, Fed.
Yeah. Well, his leash is short, but I don't know if it's as short. Like, I don't think his leash is as sensitive because of how hard he plays. Like, it might still be the same length, but it might not move along that length as quickly as some other guys. Because of that. So I think he has a real
if
chance.
It was a fully healthy lineup, his leash would be very short, but
Yeah.
it's not. So I think there's a little more runway there.
Well, that's gonna do it, folks, for our Young Guns version of the give and take graph kicker thing, whatever we came up with, Ado's crazy mind. But thank you, folks, for tuning into that. That was fun. We'll do it again next year and see who we think will make the team this time around. But now,
Glad
folks,
we had the sense to put Ivan on there.
Yes, I am too. Because imagine if we didn't, we'd feel really silly right now. But
and that speaks to it too. He wasn't even on our radar at first, for real.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
good point. Well, let's do our bold predictions. Let's hash them out real quick. Do we give Rudo Cal Ritchie gets NHL games this year?
Yeah, I was
think that's fine. He said his parents are coming. I don't think they're that evil. So
Rudo, we're gonna clip.
Let's count it.
Rudo, we're gonna clip this one for you. And there's your ding right there. I'm going to play that again because that was kind of a weird one. Boom, there it is. There's your ding. Ezra, you said all 8 defenders will be on the roster to start the season. I'm pretty sure that's correct, right?
I mean, no, but
kind of.
There will be 8 defenders on the roster.
It will be.
Yeah,
the 8?
Which 8? We're going to give it to you, baby. Let's go.
I'll take it.
You said Kovalenko would have a 3-point night, and that was last week ahead of the preseason game, and that did not happen. Let's see. I'm going to send out a post real quick so people know we're making our bold predictions. And, folks, if you want to make your own bold predictions, send it to us now in the comments. We will get back to it next week and see if you're right, and we'll give you a ding yourself. Jackie, you said we are adding a goaltender via waivers or trade before the season starts. I don't think that has happened. So
there's still time, but
we still have a day. But I'm going to give you the X. I'm going to give it to you. I'm confident we won't see that.
I still don't believe this full depth chart is set. But yes, I said opening day, so we can cross that one off.
We got Cal Ritchie under 4 preseason games. Did that happen? I
no,
think that happened.
He played 4.
More?
No, I think he played 4. So you can X that one.
Oh, that was you, Ezra. So we'll X that one there.
I had him over 4, so I'll get he did exactly 4. So
we're doing this like Vegas. You needed your half game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Kovalenko will be on Casey Middlestad's wing in preseason game number 1. I'm gonna give you a correct. Because
I was going to argue that
because
I think my original prediction was camp, first of all, which did happen. But second of all, that was the first game that Middlestad played and Kovalenko was on his wing. So I would say that is correct. And
then you had Avalanche will not waive Malinsky. I guess that kind of remains to be seen. But they didn't so far. Let's give it to you. And then the Avalanche will pick up a skater before next episode. And that's a ding. You were correct.
And I want to be clear, this was before they cut Bill Mayer. Yeah. So after they cut Bill Mayer, I know everyone's like, okay, they're going to pick up a forward. No. This was on last Tuesday. This was before they cut him.
And you had the foresight to not say forward, which I think you deserve credit for.
Exactly. You could have said forward, but you said skater. So there you go.
Yes.
And I had
I'm collecting that one.
I had Malinsky to make the opening night roster. Give it to me, baby. I got Anunin and Gorgiev to combine for a shutout, and that was for that last preseason game. So yikes, that didn't happen. And Evan, Mikko will get paid less than McKinnon if Mikko does not resign before the season starts. You're getting an X on that one. Hate to break it to you. It hasn't happened yet. Because I think Mikko's getting more expensive by the hour. The Avalanche go winless the rest of the preseason. You were wrong. They did it. They did it, baby. They did it. All
One
right.
win.
Barely. Yeah, Jackie got a barrage of dings. I got a barrage of X's. I am not doing good right now.
Hey, you know what, though? I'm just glad we got to clean up the list a little bit. Now it all fits on one page. We got Rudo off of there, but we can get him back for a new one now. It's good times and great oldies. So let's run that track real quick and think about what our bold predictions will be this week. And then I'm also going to get one bold prediction from each of you that goes deep into the season-long bold prediction.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
Okay, folks, as you've seen, the way this works, we make our bold predictions and we come back next week and we earn some dings or some X's. Ezra, let's start with you, my friend.
All right. My bold prediction is that, and I don't know if this is going to happen before our next episode or not. I have no way to know that. But
Okay.
John Ludwig will not fight in his first Avalanche game.
He shouldn't. I mean, the guy has a repaired hand.
I think he's more than a fighter claim, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, I like that.
I think they see him as an actual like defender. We'll see. We'll see. And then for the season, I'm going to say that okay, Sam Malinsky and Nikolai Kovalenko finish within 10 points of each other at the end of the season.
Oh, hopefully.
I actually think I was gonna kind of say what I was thinking about. They might be both in the 30-ish range, so that could be a good
exactly
one.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That would be sick. That'd be good for their development. Jackie, what you got for me?
Okay, well, as always, I kind of have a couple thoughts here, but one, I want to tease. It's coming out on Mile High Hockey in the morning. I always like to have a little poll. Who is going to score the first goal for the Avs?
Nice.
This season, and maybe we can all answer this because I think it'd be fun to see if any of us are right.
Okay.
So I'm going to give my answer, but then I would like to get everyone's answer. And anyone listening, you can participate. You can answer the poll, or you can comment on the article, and that'll be up in the morning. Just a little fun thing, because to me, I always think that's fun, anticipating the season. Who's going to get on the board first? So my answer for this is Makar.
Kill Makar.
And he has not can you guys guess off the top of your head the last 3 first goals?
Jack Johnson.
I was going to say Jack Johnson.
We all remember that one. Okay.
Jack Johnson. Was it McKinnon? I think McKinnon was one.
McKinnon was
Jack
last
Johnson.
year.
Yeah,
Jack
Johnson.
McKinnon, the year before was Jack Johnson, and then it was
Lehkonen.
I think I had written. Okay.
Well, I can.
If we got it, we're real good at this.
Miko?
I'm gonna.
No.
Man, I don't have any real answers coming up.
Miles Wood, was he even on the team?
He wasn't on the team yet. I'm gonna say.
JT Compher then. Duh.
No.
Dang it. Dang, this is
I'm
hard.
missing 22-23. I don't know who it is.
22.
I'm cheating. I'm gonna cheat.
I guess you can make sure I'm right because I have a name in mind. I'll tell you if.
I'm going Jacob McDonald.
Well, see, the first game was against Chicago, and they won 5-2.
I was at that game. Who scored first?
So
I'm on the Jack Johnson one.
I think it was Taves.
Ooh.
Was it Taves? No, I don't think it was Taves.
Let's see, 22-23.
God, I was at this game. Why do I not remember this? I was maybe not sober. That's
first period, Colorado was Andrew Cogliano.
Yep, that's the name I had.
Right.
There it is. I cheated, so that doesn't really count. But that's funny that I did. It's Jack Johnson and Cogs are 2 of the 3. That's pretty
well, then I gotta go Ivan, don't I?
Yeah,
okay, that's fine. I mean, that'd be awesome. That would be pretty sweet. If it's any of those
I know,
3,
right?
that would be.
It's
incredible.
probably gonna be Parker Kelly. But
all right.
But I'm saying Kale because it hasn't been him, and
I like it.
So that's my prediction. Is Kale.
Okay. Do you have your season long, or is it Utah
Yes.
will make the playoffs?
Yeah, we can have that one, but
Okay.
I'll give 2 Avs related ones. I know I'm just trying to make your list long
It's
again. Kind of picking back off the Ludwig thing, I say he will play forward by the end of the calendar year, and not just like a weird line change or anything, like intentional, like he lines up for a game at
As
forward.
a winger.
Yeah,
okay.
before the end of this calendar year. And then I'll throw in another one. I will say Nichushkin will play more games for the Avs this season than Lehkonen.
Ooh. Hopefully they play the same amount in the playoffs.
Right. They get back the exact same day and play every game. But I'll throw that one out there. Because to say Nichushkin's going to play more than Landeskog probably isn't bold at this point.
No, probably not.
Just a fact.
So I'll throw those 2 out.
Okay, I like it. So I got your Kale McCarr will score the first goal. You got you for 3 season-long ones, which Utah will make the playoffs. That's okay. Ludwig will play forward by the end of the season, and Nichushkin will play more games for the Avalanche than Arturi Lehkonen. That's fine because those 3 are just going to hang out there. We ain't adding to them necessarily, and we won't take away unless we get them right. So that's nice. Evan, what do you got for me, my friend?
All right, let's do this. So I guess for Jackie's first goal, I'll go with Taves. Why not? Seems interesting. I don't really have a reasoning behind it. I did mention that my bold prediction for this week would be around Cal Ritchie. Actually, I'll save that one for last. My season-long prediction. I've predicted it the last 2 years, and I'm going for it for a 3rd year. It's not as related, but the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to miss the playoffs for a 3rd straight year. I don't see how they can do it. There's just no way. And then for the actual bold prediction, like I said, it would involve Cal Ritchie. And I think he's going to get off to a nice start with Colorado. I think by the time he gets to our next show, he's going to have 3 points.
Woo-hoo!
That could be 3 points against Vegas and none against the others, or 1 point a game.
They better stay.
He's going to get a good start.
If he's at point per game, yeah, they better think about keeping him.
I love it.
Meanwhile, Seattle's choking against St. Louis, so that's fun.
What's the score now? 2-2?
It's now 2-2.
There you go.
St. Louis started some brouhahas and have now.
I saw that they shot the puck late off of offsides, and everybody freaked out.
Broberg scored.
So do I need one that will settle for sure by our next show?
Yes, you do. Well, you did.
Okay.
I kind of counted Kale's goal as yours.
But yeah, if we're all gonna pick one,
let's do another one then. Yeah.
Okay. They're not all bold hopes that Ivan will be cut by our next show, and not like paper transaction. Like
I'm taking this personally.
I honestly like Ivan. I don't want anybody to think out there that like I'm treating him like Poland or Tynan. I really like the guy. I just don't buy it. No, I don't quite buy it. But cool for him. I really hope he plays tomorrow. That's awesome. But I predict by our next show he'll be cut, and I'm not talking paper transaction crap. I'm talking like they went with Wagner and he's back in Loveland kind of thing.
Twist the knife.
They can't all be bold hopes. This isn't a hope. They all can't be bold hopes.
So, Ezra, did you give me a?
Is Ivan your pick, or do you have another pick?
Well, I mean, what I really think, and the fact that I want to say Ivan are two different things. I'm gonna stick with Ivan. Let's do it.
You can be on the board for both.
Yeah, throw me on Parker Kelly too.
Okay, all right, I'm good with that.
Kelly, I'm just gonna put Parker Kelly too. Somehow they're gonna
grinder goal. I like it.
Yeah, Cogs, Jack Johnson.
All right, that just leaves me. So I'm gonna make a bold prediction about the Central Division, and I'm gonna say that Winnipeg will miss the playoffs and they'll be left out of the top 4 in the Central this year.
Nice. And
my bold prediction that will be settled by next week is I think that Mikko Rantanen will kind of go nuclear this year because of his pending contract signing and stuff like that. So I'm going to say that and I do this a lot. Sorry, not very original, but I'm going to say we get a really early hat trick from Mikko Rantanen.
That'd be cool.
Which I know that's my favorite bold prediction. But you know why it's my favorite bold prediction? Hat tricks are fun.
Yep.
All right. So I think that's everything. Ezra, I didn't think I wrote yours down. Did you just give me Ivan will score the first goal, or did you have another one?
And Kelly.
Parker Kelly.
I said John Ludwig will not have a fight in his first Avs game.
Okay. That one may or may not settle. So we'll do the scoring ones for yours.
And who's your pick, Adrian, for first goal? Is it Mikko then?
Yeah, my pick is Mikko.
Okay.
For first goal. So there you go. You heard it here first, folks.
Let's just hope the scoring is as crazy as this Blues game. They now have 3 goals in a minute 55.
And I will say, I know people worry if they somehow get shot on Vegas, it just rolls. Hopefully, by the time we have our next show, there will be a goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be very.
So knock on wood.
Why did you put that out in the world?
No, I have to say it. No, I have to say it so that doesn't happen. So it's not like, exactly. Ha, there was no first goal in the Vegas game. No. I've thought of this.
Well, that leaves us with our signing off, folks. Thank you so much. We have 799 live viewers. Wonder if we can. Oh, there it is. 800 live viewers.
Thank you.
Sign off today. Yes. Thank you, folks, so much. Please come back next week. We'll be back in front of your eyes and in your ears next Tuesday to follow up on this week's bold predictions. And of course, please give us a follow on X at all caps MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey. And head on over to our website, milehighhockey.com, for all your latest and greatest Avalanche coverage. And we will see you on the flip side of some real Avalanche hockey games. Signing off from the Mile High Hockey Lab on behalf of Ezra Parter, Jackie K, and Evan Liu, my name is Adrian Hernandez. You folks have a wonderful evening, and go Colorado Avalanche.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.